has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast, hour number 2 here on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Carver and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on the grid. Great to have everybody with us. Big second hour ahead. We'll start our Golf Wednesdays with Cam Stewart. We'll give you the outrights, the placements, the first round leader bombs, everything for the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, which gets tees off tomorrow morning. We'll have Coach with the lion's share. Game 3, Boston and Dallas, as we have been discussing here in the first hour that we just wrapped up. Joe, nice job by you there, Joe, as I had some issues over here. So Joe takes care of business as he always does. One other thing I also have to note for you, Joe. If you don't have the new SportsGrid app by now, not really sure what you're waiting for. It's available both at the iOS and the Play Store. You can track scores and live odds, stay up to speed on all the latest content from your favorite host. You can watch or listen to us live anytime, anywhere on the app. Watch SportsGrid on the app, wherever you are. Listen to SportsGrid Radio on the app anytime, maybe even weeknights at 8 p.m. East when Carver and Lisi is on. That's always a good time to throw the app. Once again, available both iOS and the Play Store. Follow Joe also. You get all the clips of Joe on there too. And go to sportsgrid.com/watch to see all the platforms where you can find us on. Okay, Joe, here we go. Let's get to the baseball now. I have a few things from last night. I will let you know that they have gotten underway in Houston and San Francisco, of course, out in the Bay. And give me a moment here, Joe, as Logan Webb against Framber Valdez is the pitching matchup this afternoon. They are scoreless, bottom of the second, so look at that. 9 outs in the blink of an eye between the Astros and the Giants. They just started 15 minutes ago. The Brewers have taken a 5-1 lead on the Jays. A 5-run sixth that just got capped off with a 2-run homer by Willie Adames. I should have went back to him, Joe, if you remember. Monday night, Willie cashed one for me with a put it with the golf. So 5-1, the Brewers lead that game. They are moving to the 7th now. They have restarted after the rain delay in Minnesota. 10-5, Twins lead the Rockies. The Rockies do have second and third, no out. So that was the over, Joe. The Twins and the Rockies this afternoon, as they have gone way, way up over all the alts probably as well with 15 runs.
Yeah, and again, it figures, the Twins, right? The Twins, which I said yesterday, are a completely erratic team at home in terms of scoring runs. It's like 8.5 almost every game. And they go under they typically go under the total, and today they break out. All these games, and I guarantee you, that Toronto game was an 8.5, I believe, juiced to the under when I looked at it last night, right? And I said, you know what? I've been getting smashed with this total each and every week. And watch, the getaway day will probably be the game that, sails through the total. And I was happy to hear it was 1-0, and now it's 5-1. So watch, here we go. Now, runs aplenty. Where, the final 3 innings, we're going to get 15 runs. It's amazing.
It really is amazing, Joe, that's for sure. We'll keep our eyes on the rest of these. The Padres and the A's are about to throw first pitch out at Petco any moment now for that. Okay, Joe, a few things from last night, and then we'll do all of tonight's games later on this hour. The Dodgers beat the Rangers 15-2 out at Chavez Ravine last night. That was another up and away. In fact, Joe, it seemed like everyone hit a homer for the Dodgers last night except Mookie Betts. I don't know about that. I know that he didn't hit a homer. But specifically in the 6th inning, Joe, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 homers for the Dodgers on Spectrum Sports.
Here comes with the 2-2, and Ohtani drills the ball right center field. A majestic blast. Shohei Ohtani. Freeman sends a fly ball to left center field, carrying pretty well and gone. They've gone back-to-back, and the Dodgers reach double digits. Absolute blast! 14-1. They're all having fun.
Sportsnet LA there, Joe. You had Ohtani, Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, the one you didn't hear there, and Jason Hayward all going yard in that inning. Will Smith hit a 3-run homer earlier in the game, and the lights were out, Joe. Rout in L.A. Dodgers bats getting hot again, Joe. Maybe we have to tail them here.
We talked about it last night. I said that game will probably sail through the total. I altered it up to 12.5, and I actually did like Freeman. I didn't take it. And sure enough, I look at the game and the 15-2. I said, you have to be kidding me. 15-2 in regards to that output last night, Carver. I actually thought Texas would score some runs. The fact that they got 17 runs and 15 with the Dodgers, I don't know now. Now it's got me thinking, should we alter all the late games tonight?
I don't know about that. I mean, we have those 3 late games we're going to get to in a little while. Rangers and Dodgers are late night again. White Sox, Mariners, Angels, Diamondbacks are all the late night slate. We'll have to discuss that, Joe, when the time becomes appropriate. Let me give you the rest of these. The Pirates beat the Cardinals 2-1. Skeens was excellent. He did not get the win, though, because he left it with scoreless. 6 1/3, 5 hits, no runs, 8 strikeouts for Paul Skeens, who I now saw, Joe, second choice for the NL Rookie of the Year. He jumped over Yamamoto last night, and he is just right behind Imanaga. I think it's 140 plus 145 Imanaga plus 165 for Skeens now. If they let him pitch, Joe, and he pitches all year, he stays healthy, et cetera, he'll win that award. And I hope everybody jumped in when it was 5, 8, 10, when they were handing that out. Him, because this guy, Joe, it is appointment viewing whenever he pitches. That's how exciting. They were giving him standing ovations in St. Louis last night. Now, look, I know St. Louis, this respected baseball town. Guy plays for the other team, Joe. Let's relax. I know you could be excited to watch him pitch. I don't think we need to give him the standing ovation as he's going out to the dugout.
Now, I'm not as avid of a baseball watcher as I used to be, okay? But just judging from the hoopla around Skeens, okay? I haven't seen this much hoopla surrounding a pitcher, and tell me if I'm wrong, since Steven Strasburg with the Nationals or maybe even Kerry Wood with the Cubs. Is that a bad assessment? I mean, I feel like
in fact,
building
Joe,
this guy up.
That's pretty good for you. I got to say, for someone who maybe, is the encyclopedia of college football, for you to roll that out there, Strasburg and Kerry Wood, that's a nice job by you, Joe. You're pretty close. I think those are nice comparables. Nice job, Joe, from you.
Shot. See, I can pull it out of the back pocket.
Joe can get it done every once in a while, that's for sure. Phillies beat the Red Sox 4-1. Schwarber hit 2 homers for the Phillies last night, and Pavetta's going tonight, so he might be going to work again. Cleveland beat the Reds 5-3. We added a couple taters. Of course, we gave some taters yesterday, but Josh Naylor has been a Tuesday warrior for us on Tater Time. Bally Sports Cleveland, he does it again against the Reds.
Naylor. Drilled. Deep right field. Holy smokes. Halfway up the bleachers in right field. It's 4-2 Cleveland on Josh Naylor's 17th home run of the year.
He's been too good to me, Joe. I had to play the homer today. Naylor's been too good to me this year. Sorry,
all right. I'm surprised De La Cruz isn't in the portfolio. Or should I wait?
Maybe if he'd actually hit a couple homers, we'd be able to add him. We've kind of gotten off that train because train's been quiet, Joe, for Ellie recently. There hasn't been much going on. That's for sure. Orioles beat the Braves 4-0. All they needed was that Jorge Mateo 3-run homer. The Braves, Joe, let me just say this. They have been slumping. They have not been scoring runs. They have had all kinds of problems. They even had Fried going last night. They gave him nothing in terms of offense, and they weren't exactly facing Corbin Burns last night. So that I'm actually kind of surprised, Joe, with how bad the Braves have been.
No, and I thought it would be a benefit to them, but I watched that game last night. I actually lost, took over 5.5, and run-ins on first and second, back-to-back innings, failed. They're dead to me.
Major fail indeed. We'll get to tonight's games later this hour, Joe. We'll come back and start Golf Wednesdays with Cam Stewart, the U.S. Open, Pinehurst. Let's go.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
You're going a little deep bomb hunting here. We don't care that we have the one heavy favorite with Rory, a couple other guys like Fleetwood and Tagala, etc. You're going to go a little deeper down the board.
This course, I think, is going to play a little bit more to the wedges. They have, what they did is they've renovated it to basically block off some of the bombing alleys for these guys. They've narrowed the fairways.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back, too. I guess this... Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back for Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday, a golf Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. Of course, every Wednesday we get you ready for this week's PGA event with the Prime Minister, Cam Stewart, who was with us. And it's more than just any PGA event this week. It is the United States Open at Pinehurst. 10 years since they've been there. Always a place that brings out some very, very, very tough scores. It is a tough track to play, Cam. I've seen everybody already. Lightning fast greens. Only a few guys are going to be under par. Like Keimer, when he won here 10 years ago, it looks like a very tough test awaiting these guys this week in North Carolina.
Great call, Carver. We see Gary Player. The USGA, you guys got it.
Gary Player.
Here's a tip, Gary. This is what these guys are, the best in the world. So relax. You know what? Sometimes sport should be tough. It's not supposed to be easy. That's the whole thing. Carver, I'm going to say something crazy right now, and people are going to go, I like the U.S. Open even more than the Masters. Want to know why? Because it's a true test. Who has the mental attitude? Who has the endurance? And who's not going to snap under pressure? And that's the beautiful thing. I'm so sick of these guys. Oh, yeah, let's go minus 20. No. Golf, you're the best in the world. Show me you're the best in the world and figure it out. It's going to be awesome. I love Pinehurst. I'll never forget that Payne Stewart win there. And I'm going to tell you, Carver, I can't wait till this week. And one thing too, buddy, I'm so tired of being Cam, Mr. Second Stewart. Like, I've had second the last 6 weeks. I told my buddy, put it on my tombstone, like, second in this, second in that. Like, we got to hit a winner, and I don't want to hedge. I just want a straight-up winner. Let's roll.
Well, especially, Cam, when you consider some of these bigger events that me and you do this every week. Just in the last month, we got left at the altar with Bryson at the PGA Championship in Valhalla. We were right there. We had Morikawa last week at the Memorial, who was right there, and it was there to have. So I just feel like, Cam, we're knocking on the door to potentially get ourselves a monster week. The difficult part is, Cam, and as I show you the chalk, as we always like to do before we give our picks, I mean, look at this. I mean, this guy's 3-1. Like, Cam, I've seen 275s at some places for this guy. And Xander and Rory are kind of that next little tier, Morikawa has moved up clearly because he has been dynamite since the Masters, Colin Morikawa. And then you have DeChambeau and Aubert and Koepka and these other guys. But Cam, like, we going to really deal with this guy again this week, Scheffler? Can we please just have 1 week where he maybe misses some putts and finishes 12th? I mean, can we have that?
No, even 3rd to 5th, because I have other bets on him recovered. I wanted, but I'm sorry, we haven't got to the
I don't
picks.
want him close to the top, Cam. I know you're right. You're backing it up with the top 5. I want him not in the picture on Sunday. I don't want him backdrafted in and stealing it. I just want him, to be playing in like the 12th pair out on Saturday and Sunday. Like, let's have him buried a little bit.
It should be on my ringtone. Honey! We came in second again. Like, I'm going to take my girlfriend to a steakhouse. Sorry, it's not happening. Scheffler ruined us again, and I didn't really want to hedge. But I'm going to tell you something, Carver. Everybody, I don't care about this number, okay? This is the thing. The live guys are back. And the one thing that Pinehurst has is very difficult greens. They're running like, basically, it's glass. Scheffler is a patient guy. He'll hit the right side of the green. But the key is, if his putter's a little bit off, this is a great week for him not to win. I know the course sets him up, all these guys with their models and all the other stuff. It's like, oh, Scheffler. No, but I'm going to tell you, I want a guy with patience. He has that, but I want a guy with a better wedge game and putter, and I think there's a couple guys that can beat him this week. I'm not betting a guy with the live guys back at 3-1 in a major. I don't care. If he beats us, he beats us. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Cam. That's for sure. I'm if he beats us, he beats us. I am not really investing at all. Honestly, I might have a couple of homers here and there with him if I can get just some. And that's like more backup stuff, Cam. That's like crack the glass in case of emergency. That would mean that to try to get at least some of it back.
I love it.
That's what it would be if Scheffler won this week for me with these home run plays. Here's my board. Let's do the outrights now. We'll do everything else after the break. And here's where I'm going. Of course, Colin Morikawa has been very good to us. He's been close for us. He's top 5 in both of the majors so far this year, Masters and the PGA. He's 14-1. His game is dialed in. I am there. Bryson DeChambeau, tied for 6th and 2nd in both of the majors so far this year. So that's my first thing, Cam. These two guys have played great at both the majors. They've knocked on the door. Hopefully one of them can finally kick it down. Justin Thomas is a very good, tough course player. I know he has not had the best year and a half, Cam, but I'm going to Justin Thomas at 40-1. Cam Smith, another guy who plays great on tough courses at 50-1. I know he threw an awful number. Oh, he shoot 80 at Live on Sunday in that final round. That's good for us, Cam. That means we're going to get him at 50-1 this week. Max Homa, I'm playing him every major this year. I don't care. 55-1. And Keegan Bradley has been playing well. 100-1 for Keegan to be my bomb this week.
I'm going to tell you, Carver, I love the picks. Another thing is, I love where you're going with Cam Smith. People don't understand Pinehurst. It's not one of those courses that's all soft. It's very sandy. And I talked to a lot of people who have done a lot of golf hits this week. Australians, South Africans, a lot of these guys on Live have actually played a course like Pinehurst as much as these guys on the PGA Tour. I think Cam Smith, I love the fact that he hasn't been great because you know what, Carver? Let's roll my picks. I'm with you. Here's the deal. I actually have Colin Morikawa at 25-1 on a bet boost on the site. I couldn't believe it. He's down to 14-16. You're damn right I'm taking him. You know me and Cam Smith. We're on the same page. Do you like teeth? I want some big choppers with Matthew Fitzpatrick, the patience game at the U.S. Open. Sahith Theegala, he's a furball. Chewbacca at 60-1, I'm in. Sepp Straka, great to me. T5 last week, I got to go. And Meester, the big, I love you call it, the Dean. I love the Dean this week at 125. I am top South African at 160, but we'll get to those later.
I love the Dean too, Cam. He's had a great year. Played well at the PGA. I think he finished 12th at Valhalla last month.
That's amazing.
Now he's got himself in the mix again here. I'm with you, Cam, on a bunch of those. I will probably add Sahith as well. I have him for some placements. We'll do that when we come back. We're not done. I got Cam for another segment. We'll do the placements and the first round leader bombs. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Wednesday, a Golf Wednesday. Cam Stewart with us. We're back after this.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
You're going a little deep bomb hunting here. We don't care that we have the one heavy favorite with Rory, a couple other guys like Fleetwood and Tagala, etc. You're going to go a little deeper down the board.
This course, I think, is going to play a little bit more to the wedges. They have, what they did is they've renovated it to basically block off some of the bombing alleys for these guys. They've narrowed the fairways.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess this. Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, "Look, don't come back." I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
And we're back from coast to coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. Of course, it's a golf Wednesday on C2C. Cam Stewart is with us. We just gave you the outrights for the U.S. Open, teeing off very early tomorrow morning at Pinehurst. I know I'm going to have Keith Stewart later. He's there. He usually gives me the weather update, but things look great, Cam, in terms of conditions for all 4 days, which always makes me happy, because I hate delays, especially at major golf tournaments. It bothers the hell out of me. All right, Cam, let's go. How about the top 5s, 10s, 20s, 40s, etc., whatever you have. Here's where I'm going. Xander Schauffele. Why? Top 10 machine at majors. He's finally won a major. I don't think he can win 2 in a row, but T10 at plus $110. Let's go. Brooks Koepka, top 10. Get me back in the mix here, Brooksy. Plus 220 for him to do that. We love Seppi here on Coast to Coast. Sepp Straka T20 at plus 230. Willie Z way down the board this week. I'm not going to lie to you, Cam. I'm probably going to end up taking a small splash at like 90 and 100 to 1 that I've seen Willie Z at some sites. But I'll go 20 at plus 260. Harry English. He's also a top 30 machine at majors the last couple years. Top 40 at plus $150. And how about Moops, Cam? Taylor Moore, who has finished in the top 25 in both majors so far this year. So that's a nice price for a T40 for him.
T40. A lot of people I'm talking about, these guys, I did Mayo's show, like I've done about 4 or 5 of these this week. People like Moore for like top 10. So you know what? You're getting plus money at that price. I'm going to sprinkle all around. I'm going to tell you, Carver, usually you get better numbers than me. I found Schauffele at plus 140. Like maybe I was after that Morikawa debacle, I got on the golf sites early and I started pounding like a bear paw. I hit everything. Give me Scheffler. You know what? I found even something better, Carver. On one site here, I don't want you to shop around. I'm going to text you. My buddy has Scheffler top 3 or better for plus 400. That's better than the tournament win. I go, wow. Send me the stuff. I'm actually going to open an account there to do it. Minus 130, top 5. Schauffele, you said it. This guy's a top 5, 10 machine at majors. Morikawa, we're already on him to win. Plus 170. Cam Smith, all day, all night. 10, 20, whatever. Fitzpatrick, I love him this week, as you know. And I'm telling you, a lot of guys like T. Moore and all this other stuff, Carver. I love your pick with Taylor Moore. I'm going to add him. Give me Tagala and give me Straka. All Straka has done for us this year is been a friend. Many people have let us down, and Sepp Straka, double S, is actually a friend of the program. He cashes every week for us.
Cashes tickets for us, Cam. That's all you could ask for. Sepp Straka has become so underrated.
He's my guy.
And the prices haven't caught up either, Cam. I know he hasn't won a huge event or a huge major, but aside from the tractor tournament in the Honda, but still, he's going to put himself in position to win one of these.
Yeah,
all right, first round leader bombs for Thursday. Now, let me tell you my strategy, Cam. You know it. I'm sticking to what I've been doing. Everyone on my board is going out in the morning, preferably super early in the morning. I mean, I got guys who are going off at 6:45, 7:15. I have early tees because, Cam, they are going to water that course overnight and in the morning before they tee off. It's going to be soft. The guys going in the afternoon, crispy, mid to high 80s. It's going to get hot out there. Not a good scene. Sahith Theegala, there he is, Cam, 45-1. Cameron Smith at 45-1. There's the Dean on my card, 65-1 for Burmeister. Austin Eckroat at a hundy. David Puig from Liv at a hundy. Aaron Rye at a hundy. Cameron Davis at $110. I'm going big numbers, Cam, for guys that are going out super early to set a number.
Wow. Carver, I don't know what happened to my supermarket, but they're giving major deals. I'm on some of these guys, and I'm getting great numbers. Let's roll. You know what? Morikawa, I'm going to go wire to wire with this guy. 22 is not a good number, but I don't care. I like the first-round leader. He's always close. Ludwig Aberg, 30-1, or A-Bear, whatever you want to call him. Fleetwood, Thursday Warrior. I love Theegala, too. This guy's going to come out of the gate hot. The Dean, 75-1. I also bet Puig. I found him at 125 on one of my books.
Whoa.
Nick Dunlap. Let's go, Nicky boy. 115-1. We got a lot of the same guys. Let's party, Carver. Let's get it done early.
As we always love to say here, it's great when we're reading the same mail. And that's precisely what we have. Me and you, Cam, have been there. We're right on the line these last few huge events. It's time to push through and get ourselves a huge winner and have a big weekend at Pinehurst for the U.S. Open. We got another good one next week, too, Cam. The Travelers in Cromwell. I'm going to round 3 on Saturday next week, Cam. So next week, we really have to have some big tickets in for the Cromwell, Connecticut event. Let's have a big U.S. Open. Cam Stewart, the Prime Minister here on Coast to Coast on a Golf Wednesday. We will come back. Coach in the house, the Lion's Share, Game 3 tonight in Dallas. Next on the Grid.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
You're going a little deep bomb hunting here. We don't care that we have the one heavy favorite with Rory, a couple other guys like Fleetwood and Theegala, etc. You're going to go a little deeper down the board.
This course, I think, is going to play a little bit more to the wedges. They have, what they did is they've renovated it to basically block off some of the bombing alleys for these guys. They've narrowed the fairways.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole is getting ready to come back, too. I guess look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. only on SportsGrid. The brighter the lights, the bigger the stakes. Hunt or be hunted. Know your prey. This is a whole new jungle. This is The Lion's Share. Brought to you by BetMGM.
And we are back, Ferrall Coast to Coast, here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us, as always. Of course, BetMGM has you all set. $1,500 first bet offer. What do we got to do? Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your newly created BetMGM Sportsbook account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. That is BetMGM's first bet offer, up to $1,500. All right, the Lion's Share, of course, brought to you by BetMGM, and we have Coach James Young with us because tonight, Game 3, Mavericks and the Celtics, 2-0 Celtic lead. Mavs try to get back in the series. We will get there in a moment, but first, Coach, give me a minute because I have not gotten to this yet today, and I was waiting for you to get to it. Unfortunate passing, and really the NBA and basketball has had now a couple of these in the last few weeks. We had Bill Walton a few weeks ago now. Jerry West, the logo, passing away, 86 years old, obviously part of those Laker championship teams, 60s, 70s, the architect with the 80s Showtime Lakers, executive, Hall of Famer, and pretty much every level of the league, Coach Jerry West did it all.
It's a sad day in the NBA, Carver High, to lose the logo, a.k.a. Mr. Clutch. And I'm going to say this, folks. He's not the best player of all time. He may not even be in the top 10. You can't name a more, ready, folks, impactful, top 5, I would say, in regards to impact on his totality of his career. Start off coming out of West Virginia and what he did as a collegiate star. Going to the Lakers, 12-time All-NBA. Obviously, not winning a finals till 72. Well, folks, he had to go through the greatest dynasty in the history of the NBA in the Boston Celtics with Red Auerbach, with Bill Russell, with Bob Cousy, and all those guys. Then he finally got past them. 1970, what does he got? He gets the Knicks. Game 7, Willis Reed. Every time the Willis Reed, he didn't talk about the player Walt Frazier getting 36 and 19 in Game 7, stealing that title. Finally getting his title in 72. But then there's the next phase of Jerry West, right, folks? There is what he did in regards to bringing back a Lakers team that was done. He coached them for 3 years. He was there. He got magic, right? He drafted, obviously, James Worthy. He made the trades that were necessary, getting Vlade Divac, Kobe Bryant, Nick Van Exel. You can go on and on and on with the Lakers. And then after 2000, he leaves, and then he goes to Memphis, which could be the greatest job of them all because that team, Carver High, was awful, and he got Jason Williams in the trade, James Posey, Paul Gasol, and he brought back, ready, folks, one of the greatest coaches of all time that no one talks about, Hubie Brown, who hadn't coached Carver High since the 80s, brought that team to relevance. Oh, I got more? We got more. Then where does he go? To Golden State, right? And Joe Laker brings him in as an advisor. What does he do? Solidifies that roster. Doesn't allow them to trade Klay Thompson. And then obviously his role with the Clippers. This guy from basically has impacted this game of the NBA from the day he got drafted in 1960 to the day he died. That is 64 years of impact of the great Jerry West. He was Mr. Clutch on the court. He was just as much as clutch as an executive for a lot of teams.
No question about that, Coach. As you said, a very sad day around the association and with basketball, and they do have a Game 3 tonight in the NBA Finals between Boston and Dallas. 2-0 Celtic lead. We have not gotten the official word on Porzingis, nor will we probably until tonight. They showed him walking into practice. He looks fine, yada, yada, yada. Coach, I don't know what assumption you want to go off of, that he is playing or he isn't playing. I think either way, the Mavericks are going to win tonight. What about you?
I do think the Mavericks are going to win, and I think what you would do, folks, if you're going to take the Mavericks, I'd jump on them now. The line is 2.5. I'm taking the Mavericks on the money line, Carver High, and I'm taking them now because if Porzingis is out, right, it's going to move, right? So you can look at that. If you want to look at this, go with the team total over 107.5 points. Why? Even if Porzingis plays, Carver High, he's compromised. He's not going to be able to protect the basket. That opens up driving lanes. That gets guys going. I think they go over 107.5 points, especially the fact that, remember, Carver High, when you're at home, role players shoot the ball better.
Coach, the total in this series so far has not sniffed any of the pregame numbers in games number 1 and 2. We saw the total for game 3 open at 212. We have seen it today go up to 214.5. You biting, Coach?
I'm biting. I'm taking a big chop out of this one because if I think that Porzingis is compromised, there is the best defender that protects the rim. It opens up drives. Now, also what it does, folks, and I want you to see how this correlates as a coach taking over 214.5 is if there's no Porzingis, then if you're Boston, maybe you don't get up as tight on Kyrie and on Luka. Now they got the ability to shoot the ball. So now you open up that. Plus, let's be honest, folks, we haven't had Jason Tatum go off yet. It's coming. It's got to be tonight. So if I think Tatum shoots the ball better, the Mavs role players shoot the ball better, and no Porzingis to protect the basket, I think this flies over 214.5.
I'm sure that you have at least one player prop for me for tonight in game number 3.
Yes, and I'm getting lively with it. I like Derek Lively tonight to go over 13.5 points plus rebounds. Folks, this all correlates to Porzingis. If you think about what Joe Mazzulla has done, folks, he has put Porzingis off the bench. Why? Because he lines up better with a guy like Lively. Lively is going to get more loose. Hello, folks. Luke Cornett, that's a problem with the points and the rebounds. And Al Horford can't play 35 plus 40 minutes. Give me Derek Lively over 13.5 points plus rebounds tonight.
Is there anything, Coach, you want to see differently tonight from Dallas that you saw in games 1 and 2, aside from just obviously, just Kyrie scoring more? I think that that's the easiest thing to say. That's the one thing the Mavs have to be better at. Is there anywhere else? Do you want to see them change something defensively? They've done a nice job on Tatum, as you know. Do you think they stay with everything else and just hopefully they get some more juice from some of their other guys?
I think you hope for more juice from your guys. And what I would do is I would try to get Kyrie Irving the ball on the run, meaning not catch it, get into a ball screen action. I would run what we call DHOs or dribble drops, which is a dribble handoff, and into some kind of ball screen action. I also think because of a guy like Lively, you may say dribble drop, high ball screen. Here comes Kyrie. There goes on the backside Lively for an alley-oop dunk. You can lift P.J. Washington out of the corner, so that opens up assists. Kyrie's got to be the engine because let's be honest, Carver High, it doesn't matter what Luka does because Luka's going to do it. If Kyrie Irving doesn't give you what they need, it's not going to win. Here's the number to think about, folks. I'm saying it right now. About 54 points. If Kyrie and Luka can get you 54 points or more, I think they win because they can get enough from everybody else.
Me and Joe are going with Luka and Kyrie both 30-plus, and the Mavs on the money line. We're going for the whole way, Coach. We're going for it all tonight. We're going back to the what worked for them against the Thunder and some of these other series. Hopefully both guys have huge nights. Coach, tremendous job. As always, we will see you, of course, tomorrow back here on the Lion's Share, brought to you by BetMGM. We will come back. We have a lot more to do. Ferrall Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty. We keep it rolling on the grid right after this.
The Lion's Share, presented by BetMGM.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess this. Look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, "Look, don't come back." I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Joe, I have a few things for you before we get to tonight's games. We have some movement here in these afternoon games. First of all, man, you talk about going over the total. 17-8. The Twins lead the Rockies now in Minnesota. 17-8. As the Twins just had a 7-run bottom of the 8th inning.
Unbelievable.
To put a capper on this. 3 more outs for the Rockies and they're done. Meanwhile, in Milwaukee, we have a rally going from the Blue Jays, Joe, who were down 5-1 going into the 9th. They have already scored 2. RBI single for Horowitz, RBI infield single for Bo Bichette. First, bases loaded, Joe, with nobody out. And the Jays down 2. So, I mean, Joe, you got to get these runs in. I mean, a couple fly balls, and you should be able to, at minimum, tie the game here. Springer's up for them now with Kirk on deck. So we'll see if the Jays are able to extend that game up in Milwaukee. The Giants have a 5-1 lead on the Astros, Joe, through 4 innings. Now, you thought that one, because the total was so low, was going to go up, and away. Well, they're off to a good start. 6 runs on the board as Valdez has been touched up a bit.
Unbelievable.
And then I'm really mad, Joe, in this next one. 1-0, Padres lead the A's. That's in the top of the 3rd. My problem was, Joe, is before the show, no, actually, Profar got hurt last night and left the game. He's not in the lineup tonight, which is a bad scene for him. But Donovan Solano, I had in the he's in the Padre lineup today, and he had a real big price to homer. And I had him, Joe, before the show. I was trying to get all the last-minute ones in, because obviously it's kind of difficult to do this while we're not going to put anything in while we're doing the show. I had Solano with something for the golf to homer, and sure enough, Solano homered to make it 1-0. So I missed out on that, Joe. So not a good start to Tater time here on on a Wednesday afternoon.
I'm aggravated.
Why are you aggravated?
All these games in the afternoon are complete overs, like complete alt killers.
Oh, they're flying over.
I know. And I didn't play not one. And this is typical after you get smashed on Monday through Tuesday with late night games, alting them, and we came so close. And then today you get inundated with the day-to-day, and all of a sudden you start missing everything. It's crazy. Now watch, we'll jump on the overs tonight. Dead unders. Under.
That is something that I'm worried about as well, Joe. I feel like we're going to get hit with a lot of unders tonight because we missed this over boat. But we'll see how it goes. We have a couple good opportunities here and some low totals, by the way, for tonight too. And let's start to get into tonight's games. We'll start in Baltimore where the Braves and the Orioles get together again. Cade Povic is going for the O's. He was smashed in his first time out. Spencer Schwellenbach is going for the Braves. He's got a nice fat 8+ ERA after a few starts. What does that mean, Joe? Well, a fat total, and a flat 9 between the Braves and the O's. The Orioles are -120, even money for the Braves. The problem is, Joe, it's like it hasn't mattered who's pitched. The Braves haven't been scoring any runs, and that's starting to show in the market. I've seen some of the Brave guys who are normally in like the 275 to 330 range are suddenly in the 375 to 420 range. So maybe the Braves can start to bust out a little bit here.
I would think the Braves will bust out, and because I was on the over yesterday, 5.5 in game, and they got me, most likely today's going to be an over unless I play it. Then, so I don't know. I'm conflicted. I like the Braves, but I like the over better. So should we jump on the 8.5 tonight?
Honestly, Joe, I think I will jump on the 8.5 tonight. You know, you look at these two guys, Joe, Schwellenbach and Povic. They obviously haven't pitched a lot. You know, Povic he gave 4 walks in 5 innings his first time out. Schwellenbach's given up 12 hits in 9 2/3, including 2 homers. Both guys, these guys just, and you got potent lineups here in this game. You know, on both sides. If we can't get over tonight, Joe, between those two, you're never getting over with Atlanta and Baltimore.
You want to go with O'Hearn? You want to go with O'Hearn tonight?
I think maybe, Joe. I might want to go with O'Hearn. Yeah,
it might be like 5-1 tonight, right? 5-1.
I saw him this morning at 6-1. Honestly, for O'Hearn. So
maybe we should do 2 ribbies. You want to go 2 ribbies with O'Hearn?
No, I'm not doing ribbies.
How about a hit and a ribby? Can I sell you on a hit and a ribby? I got some snake oil in the back too. Come on.
No, I don't want any of that. I don't need it, Joe. I'm good. I'm going to probably go with, I know I got one guy. I think I have Olsen for the Braves when we do the Tater Time in a little bit. I'll add some Oriole guys as well. Seems like a good night where maybe Gunnar can get his 22nd home run of the year too at the top of the lineup. The Nationals are in Detroit against the Tigers. It'll be Reese Olson against Jake Irvin. Here, -125 for the Tigers, +105 for the Nats, and a 7.5, Joe, here tonight.
I'm going to go under. I don't like this game in any capacity. I lean to the Tigers because they're at home. But again, this is another series where every time I play the Tigers over, I get smashed. So it's a no play for me. I actually think the under might be the play too.
Cubs are in Tampa again against the Rays. I loved this over last night, and unfortunately I fell just short. Of course, Lau hit the 3-run homer for the walk-off. That got it right at 7. Javier Assad and Aaron Savali is the pitching matchup tonight. Rays -115, Cubs -105. A flat 8 tonight, Joe, so up a half from yesterday.
What did I tell you last night? You're always a day early sometimes, right, on the big plays? I think we should take it. I'll take it for you tonight. I'll alt it up to 11. Tonight might be the night. I can't believe these games in Tampa have been cruising, and they've been dead unders.
You'd like to think, Joe, eventually we're going to get a bust out. Now, I was belly aching to you all night on the radio show about the lack of home runs, and I picked up a little bit towards the end of the night, but we need more juice, Joe. Somebody go bang on Manfred's door and put the juice balls back in play, please, because we need more runs. We'll come back, Joe, and go through the rest of the slate. Ferrall Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver, High, and Joe for Scotty. We're back after this.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
You're going a little deep bomb hunting here. We don't care that we have the one heavy favorite with Rory, a couple other guys like Fleetwood and Tagala, etc. You're going to go a little deeper down the board.
This course, I think, is going to play a little bit more to the wedges. They have, what they did is they've renovated it to basically block off some of the bombing alleys for these guys. They've narrowed the fairways.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with the injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
And we are back, Ferrall Coast to Coast, here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Of course, Scotty will be in Vegas the next couple of days. We've got that David Benavidez and Tank Davis doubleheader. So he will be out at the MGM Grand tomorrow and Friday, getting you all set for that. Going to be a monster card there on Saturday night, and SportsGrid will be there. Ferrall Coast to Coast, out in Vegas, next 2 days, Thursday, Friday, right here on the grid. All right, Joe, let's get through the rest of these baseball games for tonight. Cleveland and Cincinnati will try again. We were looking for big numbers in this one. Tanner Beebe and Nick Lodolo is the pitching matchup tonight. And this is actually a pick'em, Joe, minus 110 both ways. Wasn't it last night too, Joe? Wasn't this a pick'em last night also?
It was a pick'em.
Yeah, flat 8, too. It was a 9.5 last night, the total. Tonight it's a flat 8.
I don't like the total because both of these teams should sail through this number, and they struggled yesterday. So I don't know. I lean to the Reds at home here. I like De La Cruz, but again, I mean, I want to be all in on this total, but the numbers suggest otherwise. So I lean to the under. I don't like this game. I like the Reds. That's the only side I like right now, Carver.
The Marlins beat the Mets last night at Citi Field. They will try again tonight with Braxton Garrett. David Peterson is going to go for the Mets, who are minus $1.55. Seems pricey. Plus 130 for the Fish. And a 7.5 here. I'm going to give you the names in Tater Time, Joe, but there's a bunch of guys on the Mets who smashed Braxton Garrett.
No Marlins, huh? I'm gonna take a shot with the Marlins tonight. The Marlins are a team that just match up well against the Mets. Every game comes down to the wire, and they just play them typically well, no matter how good or bad the Marlins are. So give me the Marlins on the road. 7.5 again. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I guess we're going over then. We'll take the over. I don't like this total, but I'll root it in for you.
I don't necessarily want to go after the total. I think I'm just going to play, when I tell you with the Taters, I'm going to play a couple guys on the Mets to homer. But because I don't know, Joe, how much I'm going to get out of the Marlins. That would be the thing for me.
That's
Peterson ain't great.
Too. It might be 2-1. It might be a 2-1, 3-2 type of game.
It's very possible. Very possible. The Phillies are in Boston again against the Red Sox. It'll be Christopher Sanchez and Nick Pivetta tonight. Phillies road favorites minus $120. A flat 8 here, Joe. Dead under last night. Now, Pivetta, I know he's pitched well, but he gives up bombs. And you're playing the wrong team, Joe, for that, when you got the Phillies on the other side.
This game screams over to me. Why is it so low? I mean, the Phillies should be all over that green monster tonight, right? I mean, this is a game you would think that it's got to be like 9-6 in the 8th inning, right? 15 runs. I want to alt this into the teens. I didn't do it yet, but I mean, the 8.5 as a whole, I lean over here. I like the total.
I like the total also, Joe. I like the Phillies, too, in Boston. The Pirates are in St. Louis still against the Cardinals. It'll be Bailey Falter and Sonny Gray tonight. Minus 175 for the Redbirds, plus $1.45 for the Buccos, and a flat 8 here, Joe. Yeah. Flat 8 with Sonny Gray on the mound.
I know, and this game screams under with Sonny Gray, right? So I did the contrarian play. I altered it to 10.5, hoping. Because again, I don't want to get sucked into some of these other games. I got a plus 210 number on the 10.5, so I'm taking a shot, Carver.
Joe, you're not scared of any game. You alt almost every game over.
Here's the thing: I like runs. So it's like watching paint dry to me. So if I'm going to watch the games doing Carver and Lisi, we might as well root for base runners. Plus, I get excited every time I see the bases light up with yellow. Whenever I see the apps put the yellow or the gray, whatever they put in, I love seeing base runners on. It just makes for compelling radio. Second and third, nobody out. Here we go. Let's go up.
It does get you excited, Joe. I'm not going to deny that. You always get pumped up when you see that there's runners on base during the radio show. Let's slide one more in. The Yankees and the Royals. Cody Petit, who pitched well against the Dodgers last time, and Dan Antavilla going for Kansas City. Who? Joe, how about this one for you? A 10.5 pregame, minus 160 Yankees, plus 135 Royals. No? You're shaking your head, no.
I altered 11.5 last night. What was it, 10-1? They got right under the number. Yeah. They screwed me. So now they adjust.
I think the Royals help tonight.
Under.
I think the Royals help tonight, Joe. I do. Ferrall Coast to Coast, Hour 3 next.
Look at the stats. 5 out of the top 6 televised rated games on the WNBA this year all involve Caitlin Clark. The only one that doesn't was a second half of a doubleheader in which Caitlin Clark played the first game.
Only on SportsGrid.
8 playoff games at home for Boston in Beantown. They are 6-2 straight up.
The wild card, I would say, in this game is not necessarily, well, what are we going to get out of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Brown, and certainly Tatum. It is Kristaps Porzingis to me, because we're not getting back a player that's like, hey, rotational guy. Like, remember when Derek Lively went down with an injury? He was playing well, but a young player, like a piece.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Garrett Cole's getting ready to come back too. I guess look, they've played great without him, but you're not going to say to Garrett Cole, look, don't come back. I mean, it's a ridiculous conversation to have.
They're not going to take any unnecessary chances. And look, they're at the point where they have a lead. They certainly are going to make the playoffs, I would say, barring some sort of complete collapse. And that's all it takes.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
If you're in the room, what are you doing with the Judge MVP number? Books are now 2-1, standalone favorite. What are you doing with the Judge number?
What do I do with the MVP? I let them bet Judge at what? Even money? Come on in. I mean, you have to acknowledge now that he's the guy.
Game time decisions. only on SportsGrid.